This is going to be a video that I feel like is, I don't know. Some people are going to think it's weird that I made it, and some people might disagree with me. Some people hopefully find it helpful. I've made so many videos on what they don't tell you, what they don't tell you about labor and delivery, what they don't tell you about breastfeeding. After going through a miscarriage in June and July, what felt like the entire year, it was a terrible experience. During it, had written down some things that I was totally naive and uninformed and misinformed about before I had a miscarriage. I want to preface by saying that everyone's experience is different. My demeanor or whatever seems very upbeat. It's only because I am in my filming mode. It is 1 in the morning and I've just had like 5 cups of coffee today. I don't mean to make light of this topic. Like, I'm not trying to portray it in a joyful or funny or upbeat way, but this is a very hard topic. If you think a labor and delivery video is TMI, that's when you push out a baby and have a live baby for it. This is miscarriage and it is pregnancy loss. It is a tough thing, but also I feel like some of these things wouldn't be so hard to talk about if women were informed about them to begin with. If people knew what miscarriages held, and if they knew how common miscarriages were. For those of you that have gone through a miscarriage or gone through any trauma or any pregnancy loss, I wanted to give you a warning that it is a lot of information and I am talking about things that you've gone through and it might be somewhat like of a trigger warning. I'm trying to let you know about that now. Yeah, I just wrote down my experience and things that they don't tell you about miscarriage, which is a lot of things because nobody talks about it and they don't tell you about anything. Anyway, okay, so the first thing that I wrote down is that you can bleed heavily and immediately heavily and have it over, or you can just spot. In my case, you should go watch my video on my story. I had a tiny bit of bleeding, spotting, no bleeding, a little bit of bleeding, and then I had to have a drug to make me pass everything because my body would not, it just kept hanging on. That's one thing that I did not know, that I was probably the most shocked by, was that I just thought when you had a miscarriage, you lost the baby, you lost everything then. I didn't know that you can bleed at different levels, you can not bleed and have to be like induced with bleeding. It just was very weird for me and it was very frustrating. This kind of relates to the whole bleeding thing and bleeding heavy or spotting, but there's different kinds of miscarriages. I don't know all the technical terms, I'm not a doctor, but there is a like complete miscarriage where you pass everything no matter what like stage you're in, how far along you are. It's complete. Your body has gotten rid of everything and it's rough. Every type is rough. They all suck. With the incomplete one, that is what I had, and it just meant that my body was hanging on. The placenta was still growing, HCG was still rising. It rose all the way until 11,000 from 2,000 like a week before, and I had lost the baby in that amount of time. And it rose all the way to 11,000, and then I had to get a shot of methotrexate in order for my body to recognize that it needed to get rid of the tissue and the placenta that were in my uterus. This was one thing that I thought was really interesting. I lost my baby when I was at 6 weeks. You still end up going through the 5 stages of grief, for me at least. I still experienced a loss. So for me, I was angry, I was depressed, or what, I was sad, I was in denial, I came to acceptance and went to, you know, like I was only 4. I think things could have been handled better, but other than that, I knew I was angry, and I knew I was angry because I experienced a loss. I knew it at the time. For me, I wrote this down too. Hopefully this is just something that's helpful for someone that's going through a miscarriage. But for me, it came in like, it hit me in waves, especially with having a toddler to deal with. I would feel so much like just despair and sadness, and the fact that I wasn't pregnant anymore, even though I should be. It's only September and I lost my baby in June. I'm still like, I should be in my 1st or 2nd trimester right now. I should know whether this is a boy or a girl. I would go from that to I'm taking care of a toddler during the day. I'm just going through the motions, getting this done, taking care of a toddler, entertaining him, doing this, nap time, and then all of a sudden it hit me again. It was very wave-like. Like certain things would trigger it. One time I was watching I was completely fine, and I'd actually been fine like all day. And I was sitting watching a commercial, and it came on, and it was like a Pampers commercial with a baby, and it just hit me. And I knew Taylor looked over at me and kind of put two and two together and came over and hugged me. It's just kind of really weird when it hits you. And then this is another thing that kind of relates to this, and this is one of the most eye-opening things that I hadn't thought about beforehand. So when you're pregnant, your lovely iPhone, or any phone, but your smartphone looks, you know, the government's watching you, whatever. It knows the ads, it knows the things you're looking at on Amazon, and tailors the ads to your Instagram. Well, guess how that works with when you've been looking up baby stuff and baby names, and then you've lost your baby. Your ads don't know, your phone doesn't know that you've lost your baby. So these ads are constantly hitting me. I had never thought about that before. It was on Facebook and Instagram where I was so frustrated after a while because there wasn't like any way to let my phone know that like I'm just scrolling through Instagram. I really don't like seeing an ad from Baby Center or a ad about this baby product or telling your family and friends pregnancy ideas. I just lost my baby. I don't really want another reminder. This is, I think, the next point when you're experiencing a miscarriage. It's really hard at times to not be resentful. I'm always happy for people that are pregnant. I will always celebrate life and goodness in that baby, and I am so ecstatic for you. Nothing in my miscarriage changes that, but it at times makes it harder for me because I know that I should eventually be at that stage in a couple weeks, and I'm not going to be. But you're already feeling that way when you go to the doctor's office and you have to see pregnant women. I walked out of the office from the ultrasound and passed a very pregnant woman in the hallway right after I had had my terrible ultrasound, and I just was like, I'm not ready for this right now. I just need to go home and not run into anyone that's pregnant, not run into babies, run into stuff, and then it's still on your phone. This is one thing that I just kind of have as a tip, but I also didn't realize ahead of time how important family and friends are and just how crucial they can be to the healing process. So with this one, I lost my baby at 6 weeks, but we had an up and down roller coaster, emotional, terrible experience. We told our whole family right away, and they were able to pray over us and just constantly have us in their thoughts and prayers. You know, it was hard because I texted them like, oh, my levels rose, I think we're in the clear, and send them another text or call people and say we actually did lose the baby a couple weeks later. So that made it hard because you have to fill in people about stuff that you don't really want to talk about at the moment, but it also was so comforting to tell you guys, to tell my family, and to have people praying over us and thinking about us. My mother-in-law was able to watch Beckham for some appointments. My mom was able to be there at the time that I went to go get the shot. Versus when I went through my chemical pregnancy, it was just a really weird experience. So I didn't tell anybody, and I felt very alone. So just lean into those friends and family and message me on Instagram, because I've had people do that, to have support from people and also to talk to other women that have gone through it or are going through it. It really truly made an entire difference in my whole healing process from this experience. This one, I'm gonna throw Beckham under the bus. Nothing on him, but sometimes toddlers and having older children help, and in ways it doesn't help. At times I felt like I just really want to be sad right now. I just really want to sit here and be sad and process this loss. But I have a toddler and he has no clue of what's going on right now. He has no idea, like, at all. But in ways it helps so much. This isn't a tip or anything, because if you have a kid, you have a kid. One of the best cures or just healing things was to be able to cuddle with my baby. As much as I want to give him a sibling, he is my baby. He is here. I can see him and see his little curls. It's just interesting how that helps and doesn't help and helps and doesn't help. It can drag on for about a month. I had bleeding on the 8th of June. I got a shot to move the process along on the 26th of June, and I didn't get my levels down to 0 after passing everything until July 25th. That's how long it can take. It was just insane. So I wrote down it's a lot more common than you think. Miscarriages are very common and some of them go unnoticed. There's a lot of reasons that you can't control for a miscarriage, like genetic abnormalities or something. Your body recognizes that this is not a healthy baby that's going to continue to grow and you have a miscarriage. Yeah, I wanted to mention that. I know that it's becoming more aware of how common they are. If you're going through it right now, you're not alone in the slightest. It's not your fault. It's nothing you could have done, and you're not alone in it at all. There are so many people that feel your pain. But this is the one thing that I did not know ahead of time that I am very angry about. Miscarriages are freaking expensive. They are so expensive. Why are they so expensive? It just like makes me so frustrated. Right now in my account, how I owe like $800 for losing my baby. I pay hundreds of dollars for health insurance for it to come out that I owe $800. There were blood tests that cost $42 and I was charged $42. None of this was optional. I know ahead of time going into a pregnancy now that I am gonna owe a lot of money after my baby's born because babies are expensive. But I didn't know that ahead of time with a miscarriage. I just didn't know that I owe $42 on this. I am charged $42 for this test that was measuring to my quant. I was literally getting a test done to make sure that my levels weren't rising and then it turns to cancer. That's what happens with this. That can happen with the tissue inside your body if it doesn't go away, if you don't get rid of it. It was just ridiculous that in America I can lose my baby and owe $800 out of pocket with good health insurance. It took a while for my body to just kind of heal. Your belly isn't stretched out and it has to shrink up as much or shrink back as much. But your body, your uterus just had a bunch of tissue lining it and cushioning this, what was supposed to be your baby, and a placenta that was growing, and for me kept growing when stopped growing. I had already noticed that I had gained a few pounds. Everything after the miscarriage, it took a long time. I'm in September now and I'm finally kind of feeling back to normal. The next one is that different people heal in different ways. I kind of mentioned this slightly in this video and on my other one. There's no right way to heal or feel better mentally or emotionally. So there's no one way that is right. It is what you need to heal and what you need in order to process things. Just don't ever feel guilted into thinking that this person handled it this way. Why am I not able to handle it or process it that way? It really just depends on your situation and your experience and your personality and your temperament, like introvert, extrovert. It just depends. And so I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm talking this whole time about how important it is to raise awareness about this, and then people are quiet about their experience. There's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't feel like you are silenced. Like, you shouldn't feel silenced about your experience, but if you don't feel like talking about it to other people, that's okay. You're not obligated to talk to anyone about anything. Like I said earlier, it did help me to share it. And the last thing that I wrote down is, I guess, kind of TMI, but it says your next period can be funky or off. So having a miscarriage and having a baby in general, but having a miscarriage can totally throw your cycles off. Thankfully for me, it seems like I'm still back to my normal 30-day cycle. You wanted to know that, but it was still funky. So I had my levels drop down to 0-ish on the 25th of July. 2 weeks later, I got my period, even though it wasn't a cycle. I got my period back. It was funky. I had clots. It was just weird. I can't remember. It was only like a month ago, but I can't remember anything because I'm a mom and it's 1 a.m. And there are people that get pregnant right away and they're fine and they have a healthy baby and healthy pregnancy. I was talking really fast there. For me, my body needed a couple months anyway. Yeah, so those are the things that I did not know about miscarriages. I think it's important to be able to talk about it in a in a somewhat casual manner with respect towards the sensitivity of it, because it is a very common thing and women should be informed about it and about their bodies and what can happen and what they might be going to have to go through in the future. For those of you that are going through it, are dealing with all of these things right now, I feel for you so much, and I know slightly how painful everything just sucks. And for those of you who aren't and just wanted to educate yourself, thank you for just educating yourself and learning these things that might help you help other women that are going through it. Thank you, because I appreciate that as someone that has gone through it. Yeah, if you want to see more videos, hopefully not like this one. Oh, I need to go to bed. Okay, if you want to see more videos on my channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Click on the little bell button next to it and you get notifications of when I upload videos. I don't know what the next couple months are gonna hold for us in terms of moving and stuff like that and filming, so just bear with me. I'll see you guys in my next video, and thanks for watching. Bye!